My name is Tom Wardle, and I'm a Dharma teacher with Empty Moon Zen. The title of this talk is I Am Donald Trump. I have a confession to make. I'm in graduate school right now, and I've managed to establish a bit of a reputation as a smart person. Mostly it's been good. It's allowed me to be useful to many of my peers, and this in turn has helped me to connect with them and build relationships. Actually, it's been quite nice overall. But I noticed a problem begin to emerge a couple of weeks ago. I began to think of myself as a smart person. It wasn't that I became arrogant, pompous, or superior, at least any more than I already am. But I noticed that at some point I had begun to believe in this ego identity. I am a smart person. I noticed it was happening because of how limiting it was. I found myself holding back from asking questions in class, let it diminish my reputation. I felt the pull socially and found myself double-checking anything I might say over our cohort's group chat. Could I make a joke and still be considered a smart person? Would they think less of me if I sent a GIF? Dear God, can I reach out and ask someone else a question about something I don't understand? Can I even admit that there are things I don't understand? For the most part, I pushed through, and I'm pleased to report that I actually did all of those things. But it was the pull of it, the hesitation that got my attention, and rightly so. The truth is, I was afraid, and I just wanted to feel special, to maintain this identity that I thought I could enjoy, or maybe felt I needed. It felt safe being a smart person. It felt useful. There was even a touch of power in it, if I'm totally honest. And I tried not to indulge these things, but I felt them in the room, and I felt them in me. Thank God I made a massively embarrassing mistake last week while presenting to the whole cohort and a professor. It stung. It was genuinely embarrassing, and I did my best to meet it and embrace it, but it legitimately hurt. I tried to open to it, to own it, all hoping that it would then move along and I wouldn't have to feel it. But frankly, I know better, and I suspect you do too. Feelings move on their own timelines, so in the end, I just had to let it be. And as I felt it churn within me, I thought of our ancestor, Deshan, one of my great heroes in our lineage. There's a wonderful koan about how he comes down the stairs carrying his bowls for a meal one day. Two monks spot him at the bottom of the stairs, see the bowls, and ask, Master, where are you going with your bowls? It isn't mealtime, and the bell hasn't rung. Without a word, Deshan turns around and goes back up the stairs, seamlessly. It's a truly beautiful moment. I think about it often, and truthfully, it tends to make me weep, thinking of Deshan with such humility, moving with such grace. And I'm lucky I have him as an exemplar, because not everyone does. Buddhism teaches that we are all a product of a vast, unknowable web of causes and conditions that lead to you and to me, to Deshan and koan, to automobiles, chocolate, cats, tax returns, climate change, butterflies, nuclear weapons, and blue whales. And sometimes it leads to people like Donald Trump. Looking at the harm he causes, it's understandable that we might ask, is this some sort of mistake? Like me, you may see all of his outrageous behavior and feel the pull to declare him bad, maybe even evil. Whatever he is definitely not a reflection of the Dharma. This is totally understandable for a host of reasons, not the least of which is that we all came up in a culture that teaches us to think in this way. The duality of good and evil, right and wrong, is foundational to Western thought, whether it is expressed religiously, morally, or legally. And it means that we're prone to dividing the world in two and sorting things between the categories. Much like the old Sesame Street skit, which of these things is not like the others? We separate the things of the world and we conclude that there are real differences between them. This is good. This is bad. Oh, this one is very bad. We might even go so far as to believe in some essential thing at the core of being, some essence that is either good or bad. But this is not what Buddhism teaches. The organizing principle of Buddhism isn't good or evil, or even right and wrong, and there is no final judgment about which group we are in that determines where we will spend eternity. Buddhism begins with a simple observation that life is often unsatisfying, but we all tend to chase satisfaction anyway. These are the first two of the Noble Truths, dukkha and tanha. Dukkha, translated somewhat melodramatically as suffering, more closely means unsatisfactoriness or disquiet. Tanha simply means thirst, and it is this second truth that I want to focus on today. I love that the word is thirst because I feel it so viscerally. I know that thirst intimately. I've felt it my entire life. At times, it's led me to do things that I'm ashamed of, but mostly I've managed to keep it in check by keeping it inside. This has been tough because thirst or want is generally not a very pleasant feeling. Frankly, I would rather not get to know these guests. They're ill-behaved and always cause trouble. And perhaps worst of all, they're liars. They always tell me at least two lies. The first is about how important it is for me to get what I want. And the second is that they will shut up and behave if I get it. This last completely ignores the reality of dukkha and promises an end to thirst if only I give it what it wants. But of course that never works. If I get what I want, I inevitably end up wanting more, or something else entirely. Want seems to move from one object to the next with little hesitation, and the thirst does not quiet down and behave like it promised it would. It continues to act out like a petulant child, and always it demands more. Worse still, this craving seems to be utterly unrestrained. I've experienced tanha in every aspect of my life. I want more things. I want more food. I want more money. I want a different body. But I find I often want immaterial things even more. I want to feel good. I want to feel safe. I want status. I want to be respected. I want good things to just happen. Often I want it to be easy. These wants come and go, and often they conflict with each other. But I do have preferences. And this is part of tanha, part of thirst, because thirst always has an object. There is something that I want, and sometimes what I want is for people I disagree with to straighten up and do what I think they should do, which is of course the right thing. When they inevitably do not, I must confess that I often want them to experience the consequences of their actions. Sometimes this is so they can see what I see, which is of course the correct view. And sometimes I just want them to hurt the way I see them making others hurt, or making me hurt. In any case, with want comes separation. In fact, want depends on separation, on subject and object. And as problematic as that separation is with things, it is much more so with people. You see, when I want others to be different from how they are, I'm making an assumption that they are different from me. In one of the central stories of our Zen way, a monk asks his teacher, "Does a dog have Buddha nature?" It's an earnest question about much more than just dogs. I like to think of it more as, really? Like, really? Nothing is left out? And this is very much to the point. Actually, theologically speaking, it's a stupid question. The answer is obvious, and it's fundamental to Buddhist teaching. All beings have Buddha nature. Let me say that again. All beings have Buddha nature. It isn't all beings have Buddha nature except Republicans. It isn't all beings have Buddha nature except the ones I don't like. All beings have Buddha nature. And the invitation in this koan is to experience that for ourselves. All beings are expressions of the Dharma, even Donald Trump and even his supporters. And there is very real harm from what he and his followers say and what they do. I'm not denying or negating that, and I am not at all trying to rationalize what they have done and continue to do, nor the harm it causes. Both that hurt and that truth coexist simultaneously. There's that uncomfortable non-dual thing again. Two truths. In fact, many, many more than two. And the suffering is real. The body count is real. And the consequences will endure. But is he truly so different from me? Is he evil? Is he out to cause harm because it's in his nature? Actually, I don't think so. I think he, like me and most everyone else I've ever known, is simply out to do what they think is best. The question is, for whom? Part of the way we inevitably judge the world is that we include some and exclude others. There are people who are in, to one degree or another, and others who are out. If a dearly loved friend or family member came to you asking for financial help, you might be very strongly inclined to give it, if you have the means. In fact, you might even stretch your means to help them. However, if a casual acquaintance from work asked the same, how likely would you be to help? What about for a random person off the street? A homeless person? A drug addict? A convict? How about Mitch McConnell? How about Donald Trump? I really want to believe that I am nothing like Donald Trump. But the problem is that I am. I like to pretend that I'm not. I like to act like what he does makes no sense, that I would never even countenance such ludicrous and hurtful behavior. But if I'm honest, if I'm truly honest, I understand him perfectly. And I felt the pull to behave in many of the ways that he does. I help some people and not others. I'm concerned about the effects of my actions for some people and much less so for others. I like some people and not others. And I too have said ignorant and irrational things in the throes of intense emotion. I've also regularly indulged my emotions as if they were real and not just a feeling that would inevitably pass to be replaced by a different one. I often feel the temptation to exaggerate things, especially if it'll make me look better. And I'd really love to gloss over my many mistakes. Actually, what mistakes? You see, the same forces that pull on him pull equally on me. I have the same impulses. I have the same aversion to failure and to pain. And I have the same desire for success, though I might define all of these things somewhat differently. You can rightly observe that Donald and I do behave quite differently. But we were both shaped by the same karmic forces, by the same play of causes and conditions. In my case, all of that resulted in what you see before you today. In his case, it resulted in him. And if you know anything about his family and his history, you know that the causes and conditions that shaped Donald Trump were horrible and abusive. One thing I'm sure of is that Donald Trump was made, not born. And I think this is true of all of us. Another thing Donald and I have in common, one of the biggest actually, is that we're both selfish. To be totally honest with you, Even my motivation for practice came out of selfishness, out of a desire to be free from my own pain. Many of us come to Zen to alleviate our own suffering, to try to find some harmony with an overwhelming, nonsensical, and sometimes horrible world. Perhaps, like me, you dared to hope that you might find something through this practice that would help you to understand the hurt in yourself and in the world, that would help you to make sense of what can so often be totally overwhelming. There are many words we use to point to this experience of integration, but awakening is the one I like best. While it's still just a pointer, just a word, I think it's instructive. A natural question might be, awaken to what? And this is very much to the point. I think one of the major things we awaken to is that our experience of self is not a faithful reflection of how the world really is. There is an illusion of separateness, that we are somehow discrete, apart from all the rest of creation. One aspect of awakening, in fact, one of the most common ways this experience is described, is as a profound experience of oneness with all that is. But here's the amazing thing. That includes everything. It's not like all the bad things in the world go away the moment we achieve enlightenment. And it's not like they're all suddenly less bad. But they might have a place. And I think that is very, very important. Awakening or enlightenment, or whatever the hell you want to call it, must include everything in this world, just as it is. Even you, even me.